Okay, so yes, mostly social connectivity is what we're going to talk about and how you can use technology to do that. So Melanie already introduced me pretty well, but I wanted to tell you that I'm a music therapist and I got into technology because one of my research lines is actually augmentative and alternative communication systems. So some of you probably know that when someone is not able to communicate fluently in speech and get their needs met that way, they need to have something else to be able to communicate. And communication is obviously probably the biggest way that we connect with other people throughout our lives. So I'm really excited to be with TTAP, and TTAP's goal is to promote independence for persons with disabilities by using technology. So you can see in this picture, the individual is using technology to not only mobilize herself, but also to communicate and interact with the world. So there's just so many things available for technology to help people. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a few examples today, but there's definitely many more things available. So if you have somebody with a need or you yourself has a need, feel free to contact us and we will help you figure out how to use what you need to use, or what you can use, I should say. So by helping people have access to more assistive technology, it gives them control over their environments and allows them to function more independently. And of course, that helps them have a higher quality of life. So we have 4 main objectives that we do, and I know there's 6 bullet points here. So the first objective is that we have demonstrations of assistive technology. And since due to COVID, most of our demonstrations right now are online, but we're happy to walk people through some different types of technology and how that could help them. We do have demonstration centers located throughout the state, which I'm going to show you in just a second. And most of our centers are still having people come in. You can set up a one-on-one appointment and follow all the safety procedures and still have access to technology that way. We do device loans, and where you can try out the device in your house or your home or your place of business. We help with reusing assistive technology. We help people get financial resources in order so they can purchase something. And then of course we are telling people about assistive technology, because oftentimes, and I think especially with the older population, they may not be aware that, okay, I have this problem and this issue, but how can I actually, that there's actually something to help me, that I can, do this. So I think of like my dad. My dad has hearing loss, and it's very difficult to communicate with him. And there's just like so many things that could help him and that he could use that he has no idea that exist, So that's our job, is to help people realize and learn about some of the things that are out there. Okay, so we have demonstration centers, which I said. So an individual, their family members, their teachers, their therapists, anyone can come to our demonstration centers and see what's available as far as some technology that might be useful for them. And here's our list of demo sites. So I will read some of them for folks. We have one in Odessa, Angleton, Bryan, Corpus Christi, Abilene, Tyler, Houston, Waco, El Paso, San Antonio, Dallas, Beaumont, McAllen, and of course, we also have a demo site at our site at the J.J. Pickle Research Campus at the University of Texas at Austin. We're looking to add a couple more sites within the next couple of years. So if you are living in an area that's not close to one of these, hopefully we'll have one closer to you soon. But obviously we can also do it virtually as well. So I think a really cool program feature is that we offer loans. So our loan library is up and running, and we're following strict sanitizing procedures. We have on our website, you can see what's available for loan. You can also just contact Anna and she can help you as well. Maybe you don't know exactly what you need. And so you can borrow the devices for up to a month, and everything is free about it. So we ship it to you for free and we ship it back to us for free. And you can have more than one device at a time. So if you're like trying to decide between a couple of different devices, that might be helpful for you to see what just works best in your environment. So some of the ways that we can connect with others is through communication, as I said, and these are just a few examples. So on the screen, we have on the left upper corner is some iPads or a tablet, and there's so many communication apps. Communication is so essential for connection. And so We have lots of software available and different devices that people can loan or try out, as well as maybe it's best to talk with a speech language pathologist if you have access to one of those, or an AT. I mean, you can come to us for AT side as well. In fact, our director is a speech language pathologist, so she has lots of information about communication. In the middle of the screen, we have communication specific devices. And that means, so whereas like a tablet, you could have lots of different apps on the tablet, but with the communication specific device, it's only for communication. So you'll see a couple examples of that in the middle and in the right-hand side of it. And so there's lots of, just tons of communication apps out there. Communication, essential for connection. Another way to connect, and I know that this session is billed as an older adults, so you can think about for grandchildren or something, but also, you know, play is such an important means of connection, and we've definitely foster everyone being included. And so here's some examples of different ways that kids can interact with people and connect with people through play. If they need some different assistance. So you've seen a lot of these pictures, the red car, which is the top picture on the left, the train on the bottom of that, and then in the middle we have a Nemo's bubble blower. All of these have switches. So a switch is like a big button that attaches to the device, and that's how it's activated. So for instance, with the Nemo bubble blower, I would hit the yellow switch, which is just a big yellow button, and then it will activate the bubble blowing action. So that's easier to do. There's lots of different accessible toys, and these have been really popular on our loan library, especially right now when people cannot get out and do a lot of the other things that they used to do. Play is essential for development and learning and connecting with people. So there's lots of different things out there. Just let us know if you have a need for that. Another large category that we serve is folks with vision impairments, whether that's blindness or just impaired vision in general. And as you're getting older, of course, we often need extra help with this. So these are just 3 examples. Again, there's many, many more. But as we focus and have become so connected to technology, especially during this pandemic, we definitely need some help if we have some vision issues in order to be connected to people. So on the left picture, you see a handheld magnifier. So that means you can just hold this up to something and it will magnify it to the part that you can be able to see it at. It can also do like a screenshot. So you can, like say you're at the store or something and something's on the top shelf, you can hold it up there and then bring it down for yourself to be able to read it. We have a desktop magnifier on the right of that. So this would be more useful for something like, as you can see, a magazine or a book, which you would then connect it to, say, a computer screen or a TV or something that has a larger screen for you to be able to see. And then underneath that is also a similar thing to magnify, and it will read it back to you. We'll talk it back to you about what it is. There's also lots of gadgets for people who have color blindness. So there's some really cool things where you just point it at something and it tells you what color it is. I know we don't have to be so color coordinated these days since most of us are staying at home, but it's still helpful. And then another large population that we serve are folks with hearing impairments. So we have lots of examples here. On the top left is an alarm clock, which has like a thing you can stick under your mattress to vibrate your bed to wake you up. We also have personal amplifiers where if someone's talking, you can put that microphone in by them and you can hear what they're saying much better. To the right of that is a cell phone. There are many apps available now that will actually do closed captioning as people are talking. Or it can also help with amplification. To the right of that, there is a clock that can again have that shaking feature. It also have lights and also different sounds. So you can just use different features in order to use it as an alarm clock. There are so many options for amplification. And I was thinking especially about how the telephone these days, if we're not able to get out, we either communicate with them online or by phone. And phones can be very hard for people to hear on. So there are lots of different ways to increase the decibel level on phones. I mean, you have to buy a new phone. It's not like you can magically make your own phone do that. But there are phones out there that have increased decibel levels. And there's also phones that will close caption for you. So if you are wanting to hear what the other person's saying, it will close caption it and then you could read it. And so that was really helpful. I know that especially for older populations and people that don't have access to the internet, telephone is really essential. And so we need to be able to help them be able to hear, communicate, and connect with others. And I mentioned some things about switches. So in this slide, there's just pictures of different switches. If you're not familiar with a switch, I mean, basically it helps make something work. So on the left side, in the left picture, there's something called the hook, which interfaces with your Apple phone or iPad. And that way you can use a switch to navigate the screen on your phone or iPad. We have lots of different varieties of switches. I mean, there's so many. Below the phone is a big red switch, which is called the Big Mac. This is one of the first switches I use with kiddos as they're starting to communicate even. So you can use the switch to operate a machine, but you can also use a switch, in this case, for communication. So I can record something into this, and then when a person hits the switch, that recording comes out. So switches are very versatile things, and we have a lot available for people to try out. Okay, I just mentioned a couple other things that TTAP does, and that is one that we partner with Project Mend to refurbish medical equipment. And so there is some medical equipment available for a reduced price since it's refurbished. And we also partner with the DoubleClick Computer Project through Easter Seals. So if someone is in need of a computer, there are some refurbished computers available for, I believe, only $150. And if someone cannot meet that need, we offer a no interest loan so that they can pay it out over time. Oh, and before I go back, and we just received another new financing. We're going to be starting up a new financing program. So we know that assistive technology is not the cheapest thing in the world. And that's why we have our demonstration centers where people can come try things out. We have the loan library where you can try it out in your own environment to see what works for you. And then we try to help connect people to financial resources so that they can purchase the things that they need. TTAP itself does not sell anything. We are a free service. So please tell everyone you know that it's not functioning to the highest level, that there might be some technology be available for them, and we can help them locate it and get access to it. So that's a little bit about what we do and some of the ways that we offer technology to help connect people. I'm going to go into a bit more of our little scholarly portion of this presentation and talk about connection. It's a great need, and you probably see news stories on it, and you see it on social media if you're on social media. The need to be connected to others. And so I found this definition of human connection, and it just really resonated with me. And so I wanted to share it with you. And so what is human connection? Human connection is an energy exchange between people who are paying attention to one another. It has the power to deepen the moment, inspire change, and build trust. I think that's really significant. To the right of that quote, there's a picture of perhaps an older mother and her adult daughter looking at each other in the eyes and smiling to each other. So especially in this time right now where we can't have those moments of being face to face like that, we need other ways to connect. There's also social connection. So human connection, we think of more like a one-on-one type of thing. Social connection is where we feel close to others and we feel that we belong. So this is really important across every age. You think especially about, for me, I think especially about teenagers. You're looking for your identity as a teenager and you want to feel like you're part of something and that you belong somewhere in this world. And so social connection is essential, and research suggests that it's a psychological need in order to be satisfied with life. So those are two pretty important things. Then we look at what's happening today, where we have our much more isolation than what we've experienced in the past. And there are some pretty scary statistics out there. And these statistics came before the pandemic even happened. So on the left side of the screen, you can see that loneliness and social isolation is similar to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And 2 in 5 Americans, if they were given a poll, will say that they are sometimes or always that their social relationships are not meaningful. That's pretty significant. 1 in 5 Americans feel lonely or socially isolated before the pandemic hit. So these numbers are going to be greatly increased right now. Loneliness and social isolation yields more depression. It impairs your executive functioning. And executive functioning is what you use to solve problems, to be creative, to make decisions, so many things, to make lists, to organize, to plan. Executive functioning is a huge part of your brain. Loneliness and social isolation decreases your sleep quality. And we all know that we need to have quality sleep in order to feel good and function at our best. It accelerates your cognitive decline. So we're going to see in the next slide how loneliness and social isolation actually increases dementia. It yields poor cardiovascular function, and it also decreases your immunity. So basically, if you think about it, loneliness and isolation, social isolation, we're not feeling connected to people, we're probably depressed, and therefore our immunity is going to go down. So it's a huge issue that we need to be knowledgeable of and be taking active steps against it. Social isolation from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, their stats from May of 2020 is that social isolation yields increased risk of premature death. It has a 50% increased risk of dementia. That is huge. And if you're thinking about our poor social relationships, so this could be loneliness or social isolation, it makes an increased 29% risk of heart disease, and it increases your risk of stroke by 32%. It's amazing how this affects all the systems of your body. Humans are social creatures, and it's definitely evident in these stats. So loneliness increases depression, and it increases anxiety, and it increases suicide. So in the picture on this slide is of an elderly gentleman walking down the road by himself. Thankfully, he's in a nature environment, because for me, nature feeds my soul, but still he's all alone. And so we need to be thinking about all of the people in our lives, whether they be elders or persons with disabilities, anyone who lives by themselves or has trouble connecting with people, and really be taking active steps to help them connect with others. So some ways we can do that, of course, you're already connected yourself, you're at this conference, is that we can do some applications to help us do video calling. On the iPhone, there's FaceTime, of course. You can download Skype to do it. You can also download WhatsApp. And I know that WhatsApp is really prevalent in other countries like Europe and South America, and hasn't caught on as much in the US, but it's getting there. So WhatsApp functions, you can call somebody like a phone call, you can also do a video call, or you can do chat. So it's essentially like using your phone, but it works over the internet. So that's helpful. And that way, so for me, I use it a lot with communicating with people in other countries, because that way I don't have an international phone charge, because it's just using the internet. Facebook Messenger also has a video feature where you can use video for that. And of course, there's Zoom, which a lot of people have been using these days as a platform. There's many, many others out there, but I feel like all of these 5 are pretty accessible to people, and it's not so hard to learn how to use them. So Zoom has increased its accessibility features. In case you didn't know this, I just wanted to let you know that if you are a person who uses this as sign language, you can pin that video so that you can always see that person who's signing if the host hasn't done it for you. You can also rearrange the position of videos within the gallery form so that you can see whoever's talking or signing for you. And it's supposed to have an improved screen reader interface. I have not tried that out myself yet. And that you can also adjust the size of captionings. Zoom itself does not provide captioning services, but if you have a captioning service, then you can adjust the size of that so you'll be able to see it better. There's a couple hotlines that are out there, particularly for older adults. One is called the Friendship Line. And this is also, it's for older adults, their caregivers, and all ages of adults with disabilities. So I think this is incredible, because if you're feeling lonely, or one of your people that you work with is feeling lonely, they can call this number for free and talk to somebody. I think I live by myself, and I just think this would be really helpful on some days when you just had hours by yourself and haven't interacted with another person. So there's a friendship line. It's 1-800-971-0016. So that's something to keep in mind. And then there's also the SAGE line, which is for LGBTQ older adults and the people who care for them. And that number is 877-360-5428. So I think we're probably familiar with, like the suicide hotline and all of that, which of course isn't unfortunately necessary. But these are a couple of lines where if you're, you're just feeling lonely and isolated and want to talk to someone, you can call them. And so it's not like you have to be at that point of contemplating suicide, but just connecting with other people. A couple of technologies that I think are I shouldn't say easily because everybody has a different level of technology experience and also fear of technology. But these are some things that you might think about if you think about your grandparents or people you're working with. And the picture is of the GrandPad. So the GrandPad is meant to make all the features that say, I'm just going to say a grandparent, since it's in the name, kind of wants to interact with their family members. So you can see in this picture, it has be able to call really easily. They can do their email, they can share photos, they can take pictures with it, they can do video calling through this. And another cool thing is that the family members that they have on their list can actually help them, even if you're not in the same room, adjust some of their settings. So that's pretty cool, because I know many of us have had this experience where we're trying to introduce technology to somebody. And of course, like they might seem to get it on that time, but then something comes up or something happens and it's totally disabled, like they can't do anything. And so that's pretty cool that you can help them actually access their system. A similar version of this is called the Clarius Companion. I do not have as much experience with it. I have more experience with the GrandPad. However, I just wanted to list it as an alternate option. And then, of course, a lot of people are using Google Home and Alexa. And so I know you've seen commercials for these things. And you can play your music for them. They can tell you who's at the door, and many different things. But there's an easy way, because it's voice activated, to help people. They don't have to push buttons, to be able to interact with their environment and connect to the internet and beyond. A couple ways you can connect with people are through doing classes or exercise or things like that. So here's a couple more that maybe you haven't heard of yet. And one is seniorplanet.org. And on this website, there's exercise classes, there's cooking classes, there's classes how to use different apps that you might not have heard of. So actually, I think maybe if I can click on it, and it shows you, it just has, I hope you're seeing that. Is everybody seeing that? Upcoming events, has range of motion and morning stretch. It shows you how to do YouTube, has another workout. There's just so many things that are available here so that somebody can help learn new things and exercise, of course. And then also the YMCA provides exercise classes as well. And that's available at ymca360.org. So lots of things on there. Will somebody let me know, when I went to the Senior Planet, did you see the Senior Planet website? Could you put in the chat? Or there? Okay, I'm not seeing that, but hopefully you did. Okay, so we went over some different technologies as far as how people can connect with other people. We went over why connection is so important, because the statistics for social isolation and loneliness are frankly quite scary. And we want to be connected to people. We know that humans are people that need to interact with others and that are social creatures. So now I'm going to go through a little bit about how you can use music to connect with others. And in this picture, you see three gentlemen playing together. One has maracas, one has a tones bar, and then one has a guitar and is singing. And music is something that's accessible to everyone. And you don't have to be an amazing musician to be able to enjoy music. Of course, there's lots of different ways to listen to music, and I'm also going to encourage you to make your own music as well, because there is research that shows just singing 10 minutes a day can reduce your can reduce your anxiety and your depression. So you think about this, like you can be singing in the shower, you could be singing in the car, you can be singing in your house. You will feel better by doing it. And we're going to go through some reasons about why that is the case. So connection through music. I know in one of the sessions this morning I attended, they were talking about Drumba and how they use music in order to exercise. There's lots of different reasons why we use music. But music is an essential human feature. We have found out, we don't know why exactly, but we do know that it's essential for human life. And so there was this man, Dr. Alan Merriam, who did a study of music throughout different cultures of the world. In 1968, he published a book, and in there he listed 10 functions of music that every culture in the world uses music for. So music is present in every culture, and therefore we know that it is a human behavior. Of course, we use music to express ourselves. We might not be able to say everything that we want to say in words, and music can capture that for us sometimes. We use it as an aesthetic medium, and you think about art in that way. We use it for pure entertainment. We also use it to communicate. So many of my clients, I work a lot with kids with autism, and I also work a lot with older folks who've had strokes or traumatic brain injuries, and communication is essential. And oftentimes people can sing when they cannot speak, and we can use that singing to get them over to be able to use something that is much more speech-like. But in general, music communicates definitely at the emotional level, and then we can use it for other representation as well. Music in every culture is a form of symbolic representation, and in every culture, people move to music. So I mentioned earlier the session I attended this morning at this conference. It's easy to move to music because our body naturally responds to it. We are innate rhythmic creatures, and we naturally just move. Like you think about, you hear a song on the radio, you start tapping your foot or moving to it. That happens in every culture. We also use music to conform to social norms. That sounds a little bit perhaps strange, but if you think about it, if you just be listening in your environments whenever you're out in public or at a big group event, how we use music to how people gather together and kind of show them the structure of what's happening. Everybody uses music for social institutions and in religious rituals. We also use music to continue our cultures and stabilize them. So a lot of messages are passed down through song, and particularly with the integration of society, music brings people together. And so we see this, like if you think about, when you attend a sporting event, we have the national anthem, which unites us as all being Americans. If you are part of a club or something like the Lions Club, maybe, or if you went to college and were part of a fraternity or sorority, these groups tend to have their own songs, and they're integrating people. They're bringing people together, uniting them, and showing like part of their identity. So, and you've probably noticed this, especially being in this part of the world. Live music, if you're at a live event, helps you feel much more connected to the people around you. So you feel like you're part of your group. You're getting that feeling of social connection with others. So I wanted to go through a few of the benefits of music. Of course, I could talk semesters long on all of these things, but so that hopefully you'll be like, if you're sitting alone or if you are working with somebody, think, oh, what can we do right now? We can turn on some music. We can sing some songs. It's going to help us feel more connected and less isolated. So I mentioned we already have a rhythmic response, an innate rhythmic response. People have to move to music. I use this to help people walk again after they've been in a car accident or have had a stroke. It just happens. Music, we already have rhythm within our respiration rates, our heart rates. Music influences your GABA skin response, which is the amount of like sweat or moisture on your skin. So if you're thinking about if someone's anxious, they have more moisture on their skin, right? That happens. You get like the sweaty palms and all of that. So we can decrease that by using music. And then it also is going to decrease their anxiety level. And the big one on the right that I left all to itself is dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is released in your brain when you're listening to or engaging in music. Dopamine is something we equate with feeling good. It's part of your reward system. It's part of being happy. And so music releases dopamine in your brain. And so again, in those times where you're feeling down and alone, music can really help out, not only emotionally, but actually physiologically because of what's happening in your brain during that time. I've already mentioned how music draws people together. It helps you feel part of a greater whole and helps people connect in a shared experience. Oftentimes when I do presentations, especially where I don't know anybody in the crowd, we will start with music, and people that don't know each other suddenly feel more connected and they feel more safe and they feel more secure. And so it's just really amazing how easily this happens. Psychologically, music can help us have control, and the predictability of it helps us feel safe. So again, the structure really yields good feelings for people. And perhaps you've had this experience where maybe you're going through an emotional time in your life, you turn on the radio, and suddenly there's this song that just really illuminates what it is that you're going through at that moment. And it might be hard for you to explain it to somebody else, but this song just really summarizes it. And then you have this feeling of like, wow, I'm not the only person in the world that feels this way. I feel connected to whoever it is. Okay, welcome back, everyone. At least we made it back, so that's good. Hopefully other people will come figure it out as well. That was interesting. So that's okay. We were just talking about control and predictability, and you never know what's going to happen, except for if the musical structure can help you feel that way. So I was talking about, I hope you heard that, like if you were listening to a song on the radio and it gives you that sense that somebody else understands how you're feeling. And even though that person is not in there and they're not even singing that song at the same time because it's a recording, but you feel this connection to somebody else. You feel this human connection because someone else understands how you feel and can explain it through this music when you may not be able to explain it, in words. So moving on. Emotional benefits of music. I've already mentioned how music can help you be less depressed, less anxious by using it. You can actually use music to modulate the emotions you have. So sometimes I teach people how to make playlists, but if you're a user of some different music apps, which I think I'm going to go into, you can set up a playlist. So say, like at Tuesdays is a hard day for you, and you can go ahead and make a playlist ahead of time to move you from feeling anxious or sad or however you're feeling to feeling more comfortable, happy, by modulating your music. So the way that you do that is that you start with a song that encapsulates how you feel right then. And you also think about where you want to go to. So what song makes you feel happy or whatever emotion you want to be at. And then you're going to gradually put in songs that get you closer to that spot. And by listening through your playlist, you will modulate your emotion to that. I know people also use this, you can use this also to go to sleep at night, to unwind or relax. You can use it in the morning to get more energetic. And one of the reasons this happens is that music has a direct link to the limbic system. So if you remember from anatomy or biology class, the limbic system is part of your old brain, your reptilian brain, which is housed at the back of your neck. The limbic system contains the things that keep us alive: your respiration, your breathing, your heart rate. It also contains your fight or flight response. So if you're encountered with a very stressful situation, are you going to stay and fight it, or are you going to flee from the situation? It's where your emotions are housed. So because music has a direct access to that, it's a quick response. I mean, I don't know if you've ever noticed, you can try to be telling somebody how you feel, and oftentimes it takes a lot longer, but if you had a song that could just encapsulate how you feel, wow, there it is. Everyone understands it. this also, we use in music therapy, we use this effective music to actually help people that are in coma or a different stage of consciousness. So if you work with any of those folks, music can still help people because you do not need to have the higher cognitive thought. It is just right there in your limbic system. And communicatively, I've talked a little bit how you can say things in music that you might not normally say or that you can't think of saying. So the quote on the right by Victor Hugo says, "Music expresses that which cannot be said and on which it is impossible to be silent." I imagine there's some songs that you have in your life that can express that. Songs are very powerful. Another way that I use music in this communicative benefit way is to help people that don't have speech as their primary means of communication, because music is so sensory. You can use it kinesthetically. We can do lots of ways to communicate through music that do not involve speech. And I can also use music actually to help somebody access their AAC system or a different system that they're going to use for speech, for communication. Okay, so there's some music listening apps. If you don't have these, I just want to let you know what they are. So Spotify, I personally use Spotify. There is a free subscription, and then you can also pay more, like a family plan. There's Apple Music, excuse me, Amazon Music, which is for your Prime member, you have access to some of that. YouTube Music, so you probably have encountered many YouTube videos. There's also music there. Google Play Music, again, another app. So with these, how do we use these to connect? Well, first of all, we already mentioned how you already feel connected because of the song, somebody understanding you, but you can actually send music to other people. And I do this a lot with my friends. I said I use Spotify. I'm not a representative of Spotify, but that just happens to be what I use. And, I think of them and I think of a song and I send it to them, and they do the same for me. And that's just so meaningful. I really feel that they're saying, it's kind of like saying, "Hey, how are you?" But it has like all this content. Like, "I thought of you today and I wanted to share this song with you." And you can do that through these apps. And it just makes people feel good. And it also has a way of communicating with them and being connected. I wanted to show you some apps too that you can use for your own leisure and enjoyment. But I wasn't sure people are actually seeing my screen when I shared that before, because I'm not sure. So I'm going to click on this and then we'll see if you can do it. The first one is Magic Piano. And what it is you don't have to have any musical skills in order to play these. You simply So this is it reminds me a little bit like Tetris. You see these dots on your iPad or whatever your screen you're using, and as they're coming down, then it tells you when to hit that thing, and then it gives you the note. So that's pretty fun. The AirHarp app is a little bit more complex, where this is set up to look like an auto harp. You tap on the note, the picture of the note. Okay, so that was that. Yeah, it's called the AirHarp. And Beatwave, this is pretty fun. You can make some different kinds of beats.
We're going to show how to create a Beatwave song in just a few minutes. The first thing is to get a beat going that we will lay the rest of the tracks around. I'm going to select the House Mouse Kit.
Oh, I see now. Okay.
To easily start a beat going. Just going to tap around until I get a beat I like. I think this one's good. The next thing I want to do is lay down some chords to be the backing of our track. For this, I'm going to use the electric piano as it has a great tone for chords. I'm going to enter in 4 notes on top of each other. Then I'm going to add another 4 notes and just shift it down for part 2 of this layer. I want to fill the sound out a little, so I'm going to add a bit of echo to the chords.
Okay, so that is called Beatwave, and I think Beatwave is available on both Apple and Android. And then we have the drum pad machine. Oh no! Okay, so with the drum pad machine, you just hit these colored squares and they make different beats and drums and sounds. Sorry about that ad. I forgot that this computer had not put the ad blocker on. I put that on my other computer. So just 4 music apps that are pretty accessible to play, and you can be creative, and that will definitely help us all during this time. And you can play them with somebody else. You can share, talk about how you've had this fun with your apps. You don't have to be a musician per se to make music. There's also a lot of music trivia apps out there. So if you like trivia and you haven't been able to go to your trivia night, you can access that on your phone. I put both Song and Pop and Sound Pop too, because the song regular Sound Pop is still available. But there's also lots of music trivia apps in general, or Finish the Lyrics apps. So you can start a song and then try to see if you can finish the lyric for you. So this is Song Pop 2. So there is a version that's free, and then of course you can upgrade. So you choose some genres. So this person's choosing rock, dance, and something else. And then you choose a decade of music. It starts with the 1950s and it goes to 2010. And then you select one of these. You pick one to start your game. And what it's going to do is it's going to play some of the music, and then you have to name what the song is. Okay, so you get just a little bit of it, and then you have some choices about what song it is that you're going to pick. So that's Song Pop 2. A lot of my clients have become addicted to this game, so I thought I would share it with you. So those are some apps that are available. If you like to play music yourself or want to try it out, there's so many ways you can adapt instruments to be able to play them. This does not even start the ways that play them, but I wanted to show you on this slide. On the upper left-hand corner, say you've always wanted to play guitar, or you have an individual who wants to play guitar but has limited hand motion. This is called the EZ chord. And what you do is you're going to fix it to your guitar, and there's directions for that, of course. And then instead of having to use multiple fingers to play a chord, you only need one finger to play a chord, because what it does is it pushes the strings down in the right places. So by using one finger, you can play a chord, and it has up to 4 chords at a time. So 4 chords, you can definitely play an entire song with this. So that's a pretty neat adaptation. And then there's just some different ways shown on this slide where you can adapt instruments. In this case, I chose mallets because most everybody seems to love percussion and loves to drum. So we have some mallets that are a little bit thicker on the top right-hand side. Underneath that, we have some mallets that have if you use a different kind of grasp in order to hold it. And then in the middle of this slide is just it's like a leather strap that can go around somebody's hand to help them hold the mallet that way. So you can make so many adaptations yourself as well, but these are just some examples about what is out there. Playing music releases dopamine in your brain. It makes you feel better and happy. I also checked, there are some choirs. I listed here Chorus Austin and Round Rock Community Choir. I'm sure there's more. I'm pretty sure Chorus Austin is doing some online performances. In other parts of the country, there are online choirs where you can sing with other people. I haven't been successful in finding that yet in this area. But if I do, I will put it out on our TTAP social media. But again, singing releases dopamine in your brain. It helps you feel connected to other people. It's so important. So sing with your family, sing with people that are in your environment. And So today we're getting close to the end of our time, and I want to give you some time to have some questions if you have them or comments. We have went through some different ways to connect via technology for people that have vision impairments, hearing impairments, and we definitely have connection in order to communicate, technology to communicate and connect that way. We went through some different ways that you can participate with others online, be that through apps and video calling, as well as classes, reaching out and talking to people. And we've used ways that you can use music to connect with others by sharing music, by playing music, by singing with them, by simply listening to music and feeling more connected to others. I know that myself, as I mentioned, I live alone, and when I am here all day long by myself, and you start to feel a little bit down, I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I not, I'm even a music therapist, why am I not turning on music? So I turn on music and suddenly I feel better. And it's gonna help me not be in one of those stats, for those scary stats of loneliness and social isolation. So feel free to reach out anytime. This is a whole lot of contact information, but of course it's available on the app. My email address is probably the best way to get in touch with me, anita.swanson@austin.utexas.edu. And we do function as part of a federal grant. So that information is there. I'm going to go back to the contact info and ask if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share, to put them in the Q&A. Or I'm also checking the WOVA app. Does anyone have any ways that you have successfully connected with technology or music during this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions or comments, but I am available through the app and of course by email all the time. I look forward to talking with you and sharing technology resources with you. So reach out to me at any point. Take care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swanson. And again, for those of y'all who are attending, if you would please grab the link for the survey from the chat and complete the satisfaction survey for this session. That's greatly appreciated. It helps us to improve programs and further our mission here in San Antonio. And on that note, the recording will be available after the conference is over, or Accessibility Fest, starting to call it a conference, but Accessibility Fest, and we will see you all in the next session. Thank you so much.